So Hannah, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into natural bodybuilding.
It is quite a long story, so I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible. I feel like I've actually been bodybuilding for so long, especially with kind of nowadays that you see people kind of quite new come into the sport. But so I've actually been a very active person my whole life. I've actually danced since I was 3. I used to compete in dancing. I danced all the way up until I left university. Um, where I did my master's. But I also, when I was growing up, I was pretty much in every sport possible. So I played football, I did karate, hockey, anything that was sport, I was there, I was in it. So for me, it's always been quite a big part of my life. That being said, I was always a very overweight kid. I like to eat. um, so it's what it is. And with that, we know how schools are, we know how kids are. Unfortunately, because of that, I was horrifically bullied all the way through, even after I lost weight, but it is what it is. But basically, I got to around, I was 15. And I remember I was 15 because you weren't actually allowed in gyms until you were 16 back then. And I know things are a little bit different now. But I remember just lying about my age just to start going to the gym. And I typically did the beginner thing where you just do like cardio bunny, like doing all the little gym classes, legs, bums and tums, that sort of vibe. And then I remember so clearly, I went in one day and the class was either full or I was late, something along those lines. And I was like, well, I'm already here. So I just started, there was like a circle of leg equipment right outside of the studio. So I sat on the first one and just started like messing around. And then I just went to the next one and just messed around. And then basically did that circle and then went home. And then the next time I came in, I went up to one of the PTs because I'd been there for quite a while. And I was like, can you just show me like what to do on this? And because of my sporting background and things like that, I started to like look around and I started to get quite competitive. I was seeing other people do things and I was like, yeah, I can do that. And
You know what I mean?
like honestly, like from pretty much there, I went home, I started going on YouTube, like Reddit. I started writing my own programs to follow. And I just went in, with this real blanket, like 4x12 on like everything program. And I just started training from there. And I just really fell into the world of bodybuilding. Like when I say that again, the world was nowhere near what it is now. There was barely any education out there, really, forums and a little bit of YouTube, but Instagram was still new. There wasn't really anything kind of going on. So yeah, that's how I got into kind of training. And with that, I fell in love with it and I didn't stop going pretty much from there. I obviously went to uni and different priorities kind of took over. I was still competing in dance, like I mentioned. Complete honesty, I ended up losing a hell of a lot of weight, like I said, but around like when I was about 16, and I was like, right, I'm now a stick. I have those proper white girl genetics, right? I'm just nothing, straight up and down is what it is. So I was like, right, let's do something about it. And so that's where like I started to, I guess, look at my food and things. But then yeah, went to uni, that kind of went out the window. I actually ended up pretty much partying maybe 5 times a week. Like it got bad, like very, very bad. And without getting the violins out and things, I basically had to, after my master's, I had to move home. I had to like reevaluate myself. And I was like, right, I'm going to get myself a coach and I'm going to do something exactly for me, like only for me, focus on this. And that's where I got into competitive bodybuilding. And that was back in 2018.
Okay, wow, that's really cool. So, I mean, from first getting into the gym to major weight loss, you've been able to make a career out of bodybuilding, which is something a lot of people would love to do. That's incredible. Before bodybuilding, you worked in a career in pharmacology, right? What was that career like?
Yeah, so as I just mentioned, I went to uni. I did pharmacology for my undergrad, and then I went to London and did my master's in cancer pharmacology. So from there, I actually spent around like a year like applying for PhDs. Like PhD for me was like the pinnacle. Like that's what I wanted to do. Research for is just what I loved. Like reading, understanding, trying things out, failing, going again. And realistically, now when I say that, it makes so much sense to why I love bodybuilding. So I then went into, after a year of trying to get a PhD, it wasn't going to happen. So I was like, right, I need to get some experience. And I got the first job that I applied for in a incredible company called the Binding Site. That has now been bought out by Thermo Fisher, so quite a big company. And I actually spent 4 years there. And I went from kind of a technician into a specialist role. So I worked in the research and development team, and we specialized in multiple myeloma cancer treatments or diagnostics. And I absolutely loved most of my time there. I wouldn't have left if I didn't not love the rest of it. But again, to put it short, the beauty of that for me was the fact that I would do my own experiments, I would do my own research, I would then write it all up, find the findings, present it, and then that project was done, and then you go again. So it was incredibly rewarding in that sense. At the same time, within the scientific world, you're pretty much always working under someone. So what I found was I was doing all this work and I did this massive project that actually saved the business, I believe, millions, working with a fluorescent dye in order to basically shorten a procedure by so many hours that was done every single day. And I did all this work, and then my boss presented it, and then he got rewarded for it. And then I realized that's actually the way this goes. And it's not that I need to have someone pat me on the back. It's not that I need that. I was just finding the more that time went on, I'd been continually pushing, trying to get promotions and trying to work my way up the ladder. And it just seemed to be a crushing environment, I'll be honest. I was going in there and I would feel so great. I'm like, hey guys, how is everyone? And it would be the constant, I'll be fine when it's Friday. Like, I'd be fine if I wasn't here. That kind of environment. Mm-hmm. And I just found myself losing myself every single day. So much so that is the reason why I decided after everything that had happened with me before I started bodybuilding, after like what I kind of went through there, I decided that I was never going to allow myself to fall into unhappiness again. And I was always going to choose a life if it's possible, because let's be honest, we have a choice with everything in life. So I'm always going to choose the path that makes me happiest. So that's why I left that.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, you hear that so many times of people that have taken the leap of faith to get into the fitness industry. I think a lot of people still have this misconception that you can't really make a good career out of like the fitness industry. But there's so many avenues now with the internet, social media. There's so many ways for you to access and impact people around the world. And that kind of transitions well into conversation about your posing business. So you have a full-fledged, like pretty massive posing business that you run virtually and then do some in-person stuff too. I'd love to hear more about that, because that's such a big part of bodybuilding that people don't really know quite a lot about, just because it's kind of it's a behind the scenes thing before people get on stage.
Yes.
And to work into that. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions about how important that truly is for an athlete to present their best look on stage. So let's talk a little bit about your posing team. What's the full name of it?
We are Team Posing with Hannah.
Awesome. So you started that when you first went into coaching full time, or how did that start?
So I was actually still working in the lab. So when I first stepped on stage in 2019, I won PCA regional, and went into the finals in a different category, but maybe a story for another time. But basically, within that time, within the amount of shows that I did that first season, I got a lot of messages off the back of it. And most at the start, friends, just basically like, hey, like I saw you on stage. Is it possible that you can help me out? I was like, yeah, of course. So I started helping people out for free. Just them sending over videos, photos, and I would send over feedback, like try this, try this. They'd come back to me. And then a few of my closer friends, I actually started doing little video calls with them, like, oh yeah, try this, going from there. And it honestly grew so organically that I probably wouldn't be able to say the exact time frame, but maybe 2 years later, after I started doing things like that, I got to doing around 20 lessons on a Saturday and Sunday. So I work in the lab Monday to Friday, and then I would do 20 lessons Saturday, Sunday, work in the lab Monday to Friday. So it was kind of that on repeat. And then I kind of got to a point that I needed to obviously, well, I realized that I hadn't really seen anyone in a while. I hadn't really done anything in a while. And that I needed to obviously make sure that this is where I was saying about prioritizing my happiness and like what was making me happy. And like realistically, yes, my pharmacology career, my cancer research career was a stable role. But obviously it's going to be slightly different because I'm talking in pounds, not dollars. But after working there for 4 years and having the qualifications that I did and doing the important research that I was doing, I was on 32K a year salary, which is not enough. I was on my own, trying to kind of work my way through a very sticky situation. I was homeless at one point, and I needed to make sure that, again, I was finding myself being happy, but also that I was in control of what I could do and how much I could progress within my life and my career, not waiting for someone else to decide that. So when I then started taking that full time, again, it was so organic in that I was like, right, here we go. I sat down and I learned how to make my own website. So I made that. I then obviously just started doing my normal video calls. I then started contacting gyms and I was like, hey, can I come visit your gym and do in person? So like, yeah, sure. Got myself kind of few residential spots of places, and it just kept going from there, so much so that I had to be like, right, I can't be everywhere, so I'm gonna have to start. I say have to, realistically I was extremely excited about the concept about bringing other people on the team. Now I feel that, to be fair, my team are, it's so difficult for me to bring anyone into like what my baby, right, my child, that is my business, right? I'm sure you can agree. Like I think when you're so passionate about something, and I think that's where the fitness industry does sometimes fall flat. People think that they can't make money in the industry or can't be successful. You can't be if you're not passionate and you're not excited about it. So if you're genuinely just doing it for the money, then yeah, you're going to flop. Or you're going to end up just being that person that's just taking people's money and probably a bit of a fraud. Like you need to have the passion and excitement for it, else people see through that. So that's one of the biggest things for me when bringing someone on. It was, you can teach people things, right? But what you can't teach them is who they are, like what they're excited about, how they care for people, how they talk to people, just them as people. So bringing those individuals on, like the members I have in my team are absolutely fantastic, and they just embody everything that we are. I mean, when you obviously asked about kind of, was there a moment that you felt that TPWH, you realized it could be, I guess, something bigger, right? I mean, on paper, in 2025, we won a globally recognized award for, quotes, because they said this, not me, outstanding achievements in the bodybuilding industry. So it was like, there was a few titles of exceptional service and community impact. It was like innovation in coaching and mentorship. And then it was international excellence and leadership. So that in itself, like on paper, obviously means so much. But I think the moment for me, or where I can realize what TPWH actually is and what they do for the industry, it is the impact that we are having, because we pride ourselves on just so much more than posing. So it's like the aftercare, I suppose, but it's not that it's aftercare because it's in a script. It's aftercare because we want to know, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Do you have any questions? Was there anything that you need from me? You know, the community that we have is, I'm actually going to say it, like, tooting my own horn here, we have the best community in the world, because I don't say that lightly, but from like as simple as we have these WhatsApp group chats, like where everyone shares like Monday moments and they're so supportive, and we put quite a lot of effort in there, that's for sure. But even down to, yes, we do the workshops, yes, we do like just posing kind of events, but we also do photo shoots, we do retreats, we put on free events where people can just come together and meet other like-minded people and find their community. And I think that is one of the elements that I just love so much about it, and how I can sit back and be like, wow, this is so fucking cool. Don't know if I can swear on here. But that's the part of me that, you know, even down to, we've got a Christmas meal coming up that we've organized for like November, and we're just sitting down and getting together. You know, it's not for money. We're not doing it to, oh, if you want to come, you have to buy this. It's no, let's meet up, let's celebrate who we are. And like I say, the people that are involved in that, like my team, like we represent being so painfully authentic. I can't even say it. Authentic. I can't say it. Authentic. So like, yeah, no matter basically what the rest of the world says, we want to embody that education, empowerment, and the inspiration. And yeah, my whole team just encompasses that. So I'm so grateful for them, for, I guess, bringing a vision to life for me, because I couldn't do that on my own, you know?
Yeah, that's so cool. That's such a cool story about how you guys have gotten from where you started to now. Well, the one thing that really stuck out to me that I want to highlight, it's inspiring for me, is the word passion. Like I can tell in just listening to you talk about your business, like how passionate you are about it. And I think that's such an important component of any coach in the fitness industry. Like if you truly want to separate yourself, if you want to be successful and make a great career out of this, like the number one driver is passion. Like you can learn things and you can get educated, you can do this for years and eventually pick up enough knowledge. But I truly believe in this industry where it can be taxing on your personal life and your mental. Like you have to be passionate about what you're doing. Like if you're passionate about helping people and your heart's in the right place, you have good intentions, the rest of the stuff will sort itself out. People will notice that, you know, like you can always tell when you're on a gym floor, when you're speaking with somebody like yourself, you can always feel when somebody's really passionate about helping people, and it's contagious and people want to be around that. Like that's such an important part of building a community. And I can tell that you really hit the nail on the head with that one. So that's amazing. So with the posing coaching, obviously you guys, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say basically, like, I think I've seen quite a few people kind of mention like, oh, the industry is saturated, like things like that. And although it is pretty mind blowing how many, at the end of the day, posing coaching or nutrition coaching, it's not regulated, right? So that's something that we kind of need to remember there, that you do have to be careful with where you're going. And so it is, I guess, saturated. But at the end of the day, if you are excited and passionate and you provide that level of service, you're always going to stand out. You don't need to worry about the social media side. You don't need to worry about all the other things, because it's the word of mouth. It's the people always wanting to come back to you because people remember how you made them feel. And to me, that's way more important. I mean, in terms of, I guess, even the qualification side of things. So yes, I used to dance and compete in that. But when I was 14, I actually started teaching dance. So I have even the dance teaching qualifications there, that so many people will come to me and they're like, oh, you're going to have your hands full today. Like, well, I'm telling you now, this is going to be tough. I'm like, I used to teach 3-year-olds how to do ballet. I think I'm all right. I think I'm going to be good. And that did it help me so much with, I guess, understanding how so many different people work so many different ways. And it's realizing how you can then use those different ways to help people understand, because there's obviously so many aspects to it.
Yeah, I think getting exposure to working with different types of people, different age groups and demographics and things, like, it's so important for understanding like the psychology around working with people. Like, the more exposure you get to helping people in different situations and different goals, it just makes you more well-rounded coach. And eventually that stuff just becomes second nature. But yeah, definitely having a background like that where you had some different challenges working with some unique situations makes a big difference. I feel much more comfortable working with anybody and everybody now than versus like 8 years ago when I started coaching. It's one of those things you just need to get the experience. So transitioning over into some more topic of the posing coaching, let's step into the shoes of Hannah. So if you're stepping in with an athlete on a Zoom call or an in-person seminar for the first time, what is your approach? Like, what are you looking at with somebody when they first step in front of you and you're going to help them out with their presentation and their routine? What's that look like?
I mean, almost rewinding ever so slightly, I think for me, it does start all just through the initial conversation. So if someone hasn't spoken to me before and they just book in, I'll drop them a message, be like, hello, this is what you need for the session. You know, make sure you've got a tripod, good internet connection, good lighting, etc., and enough space. And then I will have a bit of back and forth about where they are currently at, whether they're a complete beginner, seasoned athlete, professional. You know, it just depends on obviously what their current position is. And with that, it's obviously extremely important for me to know any injuries that they currently have, or even just down to, for example, I work with a lot of, a handful of disability athletes. I also work with, I've got about 5 actually at the minute that have got even down to scoliosis, right? So you need to know all these little things in order to make sure you're not saying, are you wonky? And they're like, yes, I've got metal spine. So, you know, getting all the information out of them is obviously extremely important. Then it's going to be their goals, their feds. What are they aiming for? Because within TPWH, we do work with every single category, every single federation. Complete honesty, it's pretty much because I've done them. I actually started like prepping when I was doing junior bikini. Went into tone figure, did athletic figure, PCA. I've done NFM, WMBF, BMBF, OCB, NPC, naturals and untested. So yeah, I've pretty much done every federation under the sun, more so to gain experience for my clients so that I can turn around and say to them, cool, these are what your goals are. I'm seeing your structure here. I'm seeing what you're currently showing me. So maybe we could aim for these. You know, it does always start with a bit of an uncomfortable conversation where I do ask the athlete, are you natural or not? Because otherwise I could be putting them into a category and they're like, yeah, by the way, I can't actually do that one. So, you know, we do kind of break down those walls pretty quickly. But once we've actually started in the call, I will typically say, if they are brand new, so how do you check in with your coach? Can you show me what you currently do? If it's pretty much like stand, you know, like this vibe, then again, we'll obviously make sure the category that they have chosen or their coach and them have chosen is the correct one. This is really important because, and it's not just girls. So I'll give 2 examples. So I've had obviously many females come to me saying that they want to do wellness when they are not wellness. They just have very good body fat distribution on the bunda. So you have to be honest with them there and kind of say, look, have you got to a certain level of lean yet? Do you know if that is muscle or XYZ? So a lot of the time you can see that anyway. It is quite clear. Even in an off season, you can look at a physique and kind of say, right, that that is muscle under there. And even down to the gentleman. Many a man I have had come into a lesson saying, hi, I want to do classic. And I'm like, sir, you are a fridge. You are not going to do classic. You don't have the structure for that. But again, you have to obviously make sure that they are happy with how you're going to progress with their lesson, and make them understand why. Like, it's down to the criteria. And if you're trying to force your body into a criteria that you're currently not in, then you're going to just be either pretty upset with the result, or prep is going to be really, really hard for you. So making sure that we kind of outline those things. And of course, they can ask any questions throughout the whole time. Now, through these lessons, again, it'll go so dependent on that athlete. So whether we cover one pose within that time, whether we cover 8 poses, the transitions, and an eye walk, a whole stage run through, it's just so dependent on that individual. But the most important thing for people to get nailed are going to be their poses, their mandatory poses, the poses the judges are seeing immediately. Because so many people think it's going to be like the flow and everything in between. The judges are still there. They love presentation, but they want to see a physique, and the physique is going to win, we hope. So it's making sure that those poses are not just the best for the athlete, I suppose, but the best for the athlete for the criteria. Because then, again, that's something that is an entirely different situation. So, for example, a lady might do a certain pose, and she might do it because her ass looks great in that side pose. However, when she does it in that way, she looks very lower dominant, and it's not creating balance and symmetry. So you have to amend the pose. So yes, her ass doesn't look as great, but now we're actually fitting criteria, and you've got more of a bias towards winning. So it's making sure that the client can understand why you're making the adjustments. Through that, I'll always send screenshots, screen recordings. So it's kind of real time, so they can see, this is what you did do, this is what we adjusted, and this is what you look like now, and this is why we've done that. For me, it's not just move your hand left, right, up, down. It's making sure they understand, because if they understand, they're going to be able to repeat it. And I think for that, it's then being able to repeat that process for not just the poses, but yes, the transitions. How do they move across the stage? How do you enter the stage? How do you swap with an athlete? Go to the back, go to the front. All the elements of stage presentation that so many people forget. And then they get on stage and it's deer in headlights. So I kind of phase my lessons. I would call it as layers, like layering. So like I said, you start with the poses, then the transitions. You make sure after each lesson, you come back, okay, show me where we're at right now. And then through that, we actually have services that really help alongside it. So it's not just here's a lesson. We have like packages that incorporate from weekly all the way to monthly, but lessons and also check-ins. So say you've just done a round in the gym and you video it, you send me over that video, and I'm able to send you Loom response. So that's, I don't know if you know what Loom is.
Yeah, Loom's great. I use that for my online coaching too. So like when my clients check in, I can have them
so imagine their video and then my face, and then I'm able to obviously get up, show them the tweaks, and they can use that video in between their lessons so that they're not practicing the wrong thing. Because that's one of the things we find with beginners is a lot of the time you'll have a lesson, they'll leave it like 2 months, they're like, oh yeah, I've got this, and then they come back for a lesson, and a lot of the time you've got to then just repeat that lesson because they've either done the wrong thing or trial something else. So it really helps with the in-between lessons as well.
Yeah, Loom's a great tool. It saves a lot of time. It helps like deliver communication so much better. I think it's been one of the best things I've implemented into my coaching business.
Yeah, and then they've got like set homework that they can just repeat. I mean, the amount of times I hear so I had the Loom feedback on repeat while I was practicing. I'm like, you poor thing with this accent. I feel bad for you, but it works.
No, that's great. So transitioning into my next question, do you feel like posing needs to be individualized for every physique, or are there some like standard things that you just want everybody to have like a good grasp of when it comes to presentation?
It is entirely individualized. every single aspect is entirely individualized, because everyone's so different. Like, even if you take a open figure lineup, for example, you could have someone who's 5 foot, you could have someone who's 5'8". Everyone's limb length, torso length is entirely different. Your biomechanics are different. How you connect with your tissues, how you flare, like all these elements. And that's not even getting down to your actual physical strength. So whether you have great lats or whether you have great quads. So there's so much more behind the scenes to just, let's just pose here. That is going into an advanced level, of course. But for me, I even treat beginners to that degree, because I don't think that it should be saved for just the professional athletes. Like, I like to treat absolutely every single athlete on my team as they were a professional. If they come to me with a goal, that goal is just as important to me as a pro debut, So it does, even down to, I think, male athletes, a lot of the time when it's like open bodybuilding, I think a lot, they feel like, it's just the same pose. But yes, even down to the height, etc., even down to, let's go front double bicep for a male. Okay, say if they have really long arms, right? Say if they have quite work in progress biceps, let's just say that, and they end up kind of pulling like down like so, that a lot of people do. Okay, if they come underneath the shoulder, which a lot of people do to make their lat look nice and dense and thick. If your arm is here, a lot of the time the bicep is going to look even worse. So making sure that you potentially lift the elbow ever so slightly, so that you can contract the bicep ever so slightly more, so that there's a smaller distance between your arm and the bicep. And that is just the one smallest tweak that I can obviously give an example here, but that is
Sure.
for every single category, down to the gaps that you have between a body part and the body part you're also trying to kind of showcase there. If you have a massive gap, the judges are going to look at that and just think there should be more muscle there. So you need to obviously be able to close those gaps to present it properly. So it's definitely individualized. I'll just leave it there.
It is always amazing the intricacies of posing and like the little details that make such a big difference in the presentation of the physique on stage. I think people watching that haven't competed before and haven't been through like a posing session don't truly understand like how much of an art it really is. There's so many little tweaks and things that you can do to how you're presenting that makes such a big difference. It could be ultimately in a close competition can be the difference between winning and losing.
Oh, 1,000%, definitely. I mean, I can easily say, like, hand on heart, that that's even happened to me. And, as in the beginning, even with me kind of working the way that I did, the other thing that you have to also remember is you can pose one way, but you need to see yourself in a lineup a lot of the time as well. Like, you need to see what other athletes are presenting. That's why it's so important to be going to shows, seeing who's winning, because as much as the criteria is on paper, that's why me and my other coaches within the team, we're so hot on. We keep up to date with absolutely everything. Our training continues constantly. We have monthly meetings. I have basically one-to-ones with them, and we are always doing extra training, etc., because criteria does change, and what they're looking for year to year does change. We're seeing that even within, say, the big ranks of NPC Pro at the minute, IFBB Pro, with the whole women's physique, women's bodybuilding side of things. A lot of athletes are moving over because of the decisions that the judges are making this season. So it's really important to remember that it's not just, this is what criteria says. It's no, what are they actually rewarding? And you need to be watching those. I spend way too long watching shows, but I love it. So I guess why would I not?
So let's dive into the athlete side of things a little bit more. So obviously you've got an incredible track record. I think you've worked with over 100 people to achieve their pro card over the years. So in your opinion, what separates these athletes from people that don't achieve such a feat? Like what's the mindset and the approach to those people that makes them able to achieve something like this?
I think nowadays people put too much on genetics. I think they love to throw that word around. And as someone who has the worst genetics ever, internally and externally, I can't even say that that is the reason why they've got their pro card. For me, it is their work ethic. They're not ticking boxes. You know how people love to say that, oh, ticking my boxes, la 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 la. Cool. Well, you should be smashing them. You shouldn't be ticking them. You shouldn't be like getting by. If you want to become the best, if you want to achieve the most, then you have to have that kind of extra push in absolutely everything you do. You know, like, are you doing your cardio? Like, oh yeah, I'm doing that amount of time. Or are you actually doing your cardio? You know? And I think that is the mindset there comes from that they're doing it because nothing is going to stop this. Like, no one and nothing is going to stop this. And it is the work ethic, but also their love for it.
Yep.
Because you can't necessarily, I guess, I personally would say you can't outwork. If you hate something, you can't outwork it. Like, that will never come through. When you're doing like it sounds to an external, like say if my mom was listening, if she heard me say this, she'd be like, don't be so dramatic, right? But like when you're doing those last few reps, every single set, when you are skin to the bone, that is what determines what you're going to be, who you're going to become. Because, you know, if you're someone that's like, oh, this is hard now, done, cool, well, you're probably not going to, you might do well in like a rookie season, but that's going to be where it stops. But the people that go all the way, that have successful long careers, it's the people that do not stop.
Yeah, you're probably the same way, but I always say I'll take the athlete with like average genetics but incredible work ethic over somebody with incredible genetics and below average work ethic. It's just so demotivating to be working with somebody that has like most of my like clients have better genetics than me. I don't have great genetics by any means. I do like improving stuff, so like I feel like I like to think I give a high level of effort. But when you have an athlete with like incredible genetics and they're just not passionate about the process, it's so frustrating because you're like, gosh,
you're like, you have like, so much potential.
You can lock in, but you can't want things for people. I think that's one of the hardest things as a coach is like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Like having that mindset with your clients, like it's important, but it's very frustrating because you obviously, if you love this stuff, you want everyone you come in contact with as a coach, like you want them to be super successful and achieve everything they want. But like when you have people that don't truly want that, it will drive you mad because we're obviously people that eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, and to see people not really care the way we do is like it's hard to I would say that sometimes. That's something you got to learn to like let roll off your shoulders a little bit.
That's it. I mean, someone's got to place last. I'm sorry, I'm joking. No, but I mean, taking it even down to the posing side of things, right? It's the difference between if I hop on a call, I'm like, okay, how's practice gone? What's been going on this week? And they're like, oh, I didn't have time. Or it's that, yeah, I've been doing it 10 minutes fasted every morning because that's the only time that I'm able to do before work, but I'm making sure I get it done. That's the difference, right? If I put it as simply as just down to posing. But imagine that work ethic or that approach to every single aspect of bodybuilding.
Yeah, it all adds up. So transitioning over to the OCB and natural bodybuilding a little bit. Obviously, you did the OCB Great Britain last year. So what drew you over to the OCB, and what about natural bodybuilding has been such a draw for you and something you chose to stay natural for?
Yeah, so as I briefly mentioned, how I came into actual competitive bodybuilding, I basically came from a very, very, very bad time in my life, like a very low point. So for me, I actually became like sober. I kind of like moved away from anything like that. Like, so in my head, I'll be honest, I didn't even know about assistance. Like, obviously you do. Like, you go to the gym and you see, like, the guys that are just, obviously, like, we'd say juiced up, right?
Yeah, and you've heard of Arnold.
Yeah, of course, right. But, like, when I was, that is now, how many years ago is that? 9 years? No, 8 years. God, I'm old.
Crazy.
So, back then, I'll be honest, there wasn't loads of information. No one was really talking about assistance openly,
Mhm.
especially. And I knew no one in the sport. So for me, it's just that information just wasn't around me.
Yeah.
So then obviously I came into the sport and I was doing federations. My first season, I actually didn't do a single natural federation because I didn't know about it. I didn't think that, like I said, I just thought everyone just bodybuilded. And then I realized that I was on stage. I still won though. I'll take that. I could have been against obviously natural people too, but I just don't know.
Yeah.
Um, so, I came away from that season obviously learning more there. And for me, bodybuilding was never about becoming like the biggest or winning shows. And I know that sounds so strange, but with how I got into it, I just wanted to focus on me and I wanted personal growth. Like bodybuilding helped me through that. So I never even thought about the assistant side because I just wanted to focus on becoming the best version of myself, and I didn't need assistance in order to do that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think that's one of the big takeaways that every athlete should have from competing is what they gain from the sport of bodybuilding. It's like it's just at the end of the day, like you're dieting for months and months, and you're getting on stage for a few minutes, and you might get a trophy that just collects dust. Like that's it's kind of irrelevant, but it's the process and who you become in the process and what you find out about yourself. It's so valuable about bodybuilding, in my opinion, and that's why I'm so passionate about helping others with it because I know what it's done for my life, and I've seen it for some of my athletes, and it's a very rewarding, it's a very challenging but rewarding thing when you see it through. And I think that's what's so important and why like the bodybuilding sport is so unique and special to so many people.
Definitely.
So transitioning from that, I'd like to go into some mindset things a little bit around coaching and psychology of athletes and things. So if you could give like every competitor one piece of advice before stepping on stage, what would it be from a posing standpoint, but also just a mindset standpoint?
I think we semi touched on it there, but the first thing that does come to my mind is like take away any pressure, take away any result, like take away even the show day because you need to find and you need to fall in love with the everyday process of it. Like I have been competing now, like I say, like almost 8 years. I cannot see myself leaving anytime soon. Like I can't. Like for me, even if I don't compete, I will literally be doing the same thing day in, day out. My routine is so, well, I'm autistic, so it's so autistic that I get up at 5 every single morning. Doesn't matter if it's the weekend. Like I go and do my fasted cardio. I come back. I start my calls at 7 o'clock. I go and train at this time. Da, 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 da. I eat my meals at 8, 10, 12, 2, 4, half 6. So for me, that's going to never change. And I personally feel that's the one thing every competitor needs. Make sure that you love it before you even think about the stage. Like
Yeah.
you do see so many people now, they start bodybuilding and they haven't even done it for 6 months and they're like, I'm going to go on stage. Honestly, don't put yourself through that yet. I'm not saying don't, but not yet. Like, make sure that you've got a good enough amount of tissue for one, that you're going to actually enjoy the process because the prep is going to be very hard if you don't have much tissue. And then the other side is obviously that if the prep is then harder, you will then blame bodybuilding for how hard it is when realistically it's just that you needed more tissue in the first place. And the next prep is actually probably going to be better and easier, you know?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think obviously in the social media driven era, people see the highlights of bodybuilding and think it's this glamorous thing. And it is awesome. It's amazing. But there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes that people don't see. And I think when people get the itch to get on stage for the first time, if they haven't spent time living the lifestyle of a bodybuilder first, prep can be very, very challenging because you hit the nail on the head. Like it is very much a delayed gratification time thing. And you
Mm-hmm.
need time to build up your routine, your habits, the lifestyle of a bodybuilder, and to put on quality tissue before you go through a prep. If you don't have a lot of muscle, it's very hard to get lean. Like I always tell like clients that are newer to the sport, I'm like, every time we compete, you'll have a better opportunity to get lean because you'll have more tissue.
That's it.
it's a hard concept to understand until you've done it for a
Yes.
few years. But once you've done 3 to 4 preps, you've put some years in on the off season, you start to see body composition improvements. Yeah, you're probably going to get on stage lighter, but you're going to have better body composition. You're going to be leaner because there's more tissue there to reveal. Like if you don't have that built up, it's really hard to truly reach like levels of conditioning that you would want in your client, right?
I mean, I think a lot of people think that the show day is glamorous, right? But I mean, if you're listening to this and you don't know, you don't shower for a few days, okay?
Yeah.
You have to pee in a cup. I mean, I don't know what else you need to know. It's not glamorous. You stink.
When you think about it, when you describe it, it is a strange thing that we put ourselves through. And people are like,
I mean, I absolutely love it.
Why do they love this so much? So what's wrong with them? There's a lot of things wrong.
Yeah, just getting on stage in a sparkly pants, basically.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's crazy. But we love it.
Yeah.
So I got one more topic for you today that I wanna dive into. So how do you define success for Hannah today compared to when you first started in the sport? And what do you want your legacy with bodybuilding to be? It's a deep question.
Oh, I love this so much. Okay, I'm gonna answer it in two.
Sure.
So the first thing, I love that question about how do I define success, because that has changed massively. When I first started competing, I did the whole, I want to be at the Natural Olympia, I want to be at the OCB Yorton, I want to get my pro card, I did that, okay? Going through the years, so I don't know if you've actually seen my physique, but my physique is weird, okay? What I mean by that is I get silly lean. So when I did the OCB show in Mount Rogers and I got my pro card there, I actually had to fill up quite significantly. And my quad still had feathers, okay? So I like to get disgustingly lean. And that's a presentation I like to bring. Now, that does not suit most criteria. So the thing that I define as success nowadays is bringing a look that I love, bringing a look that I am so proud of, and that I kind of go, oh, at, not bringing a look for criteria or winning, which I know sounds so wrong, but that I would rather, and I've actually said this to clients before, because a client has stepped on stage and maybe they've come second, third, and they're devastated, right? And I'm like, right, take a second, okay? Look at the winner. Would you rather have bought the physique that you bought and place where you placed, or win and bring the physique that they bought? And a lot of the time, it's actually, I like the physique that I bought. Cool, well, you've won. Like in my head, you've won.
Yeah, I think
you can't decide what the
people,
like.
Yeah, people get so hyper focused on the thought of winning, like winning the show is the only marker of success. But really, like bodybuilding is a self progression based sport, and you can't control who shows up to the shows. All you can control is that did you check all the boxes? Did you apply yourself? And did you bring the best version of yourself physically and mentally to the stage? And that's always the win, and that's like a hard thing to process when you're chasing your pro card, because like you're like, I want to win a show, I want to win a pro card, I want to win a pro card. Once you get it, you have to shift your mindset and be like, okay, now I'm in the pro ranks, we're going back to square one, I got to build. But it's like you have to love the process and the journey to get there, and then eventually that stuff all sorts itself out. But it's important to have like a level head with all those things.
Yeah, for sure. And with regards to my legacy, that is a question I'm probably going to have to journal about later. That's something that has never even crossed my mind, but I'm going to try and answer it right now. Say again?
I said we're sparking some deep thoughts here.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I think as an athlete, that legacy, I think a lot of people may already think it, but I would like people to see that I just don't quit. Like I will never stop, basically. Like for me, bodybuilding is something that allows you to continually learn from. You can always learn more. There's always something to learn from whatever happens in life. whether
Sure.
it be bad, you know? So you take that and you're like, okay, what can I learn from this and what can I do moving forwards? So I hope that that's what people see as me as an athlete, is that I just don't fucking quit. Within the kind of posing side, within you know, TBWH and what we've bought there, honestly, I again can take a step back, and when I do look at the industry, like, I feel that I want TBWH to be not just the UK's leading, but the world leading. Again, not even just posing team, but the team that helps you bring your best through bodybuilding, but also brings you out your best, you know, with confidence, with that community, with the education, just basically helping people become the version of you that has always been there. They've just needed that little bit of guidance and support to like break out of it. That's what I hope people think.
That's a great legacy. I like that one. Well, awesome. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for your time today. We gotta wrap up here. We got some other sessions to get to here at the gym, but thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
You're building an incredible legacy in my eyes with the impact you're having on the industry. So it was great to get to chat with you and hear more about your story. And this episode will go up live on Tuesday. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you.